Welcome to Mama's Gone Wild Television. I'm Nikki Woods and my co-host Mary Boyce. Now, Mama's Gone Wild is a place for women, mothers, professionals, single moms, married moms, and some moms of kids that may not be biologically their own, but that's okay. No judgment. And it's just a place where we will come to share our concerns, our views, and to talk about things. And today we are going to get right to it. We are going to talk about sex and how we talk about sex with our children. We've invited some friends to talk about it with us, but there are some really scary statistics out there. 73% of women say when they talk to their children about sex that their children understand, but only about 20% of the children say that they connect with what the mothers are actually saying. And only 4% say that they take that advice and go with it into the future. So 4% is not a big percentage at all. So today we're going to talk to Robbie Douglas, who is a married marketing executive, and she is the mother of two, a girl and a boy. And also we're going to talk to Deidre Courtney, who is a teacher. She's the wife of a pastor, so we may be censored here, and also the mother of two girls. And so let's start, because one of the biggest questions that I think people have is how young should we start talking to our children about sex? What do you think, Robbie?
You know, I think that is such an individual decision. I think it has a lot to do with your child and even your relationship with your child. And also, for me, what environment do they find themselves in? Because if it's an environment that's, quite frankly, a little bit more mature, maybe at school, and their friends are talking about things that I have not yet introduced, then I will feel compelled to, have certain discussions. So it's really varied. And my son is the oldest, so he's 13.
Uh-oh.
And I know. So, here I have a man child, and I have to figure out, what do I say? What does his dad need to say? So I think it just really depends.
Do you approach it differently with the boy versus the girl child?
Yes. And, that's probably one of the saddest commentaries on our society. I think that it seems as though there is a different message for a son versus a daughter. And with my son being older, we've started to have those conversations with him about sex. I haven't really gone there with my 9-year-old daughter yet, but I think there does seem to be a difference. And I'm trying to resist that urge to tell him some things that are different or give him guardrails that are different than what I would give my daughter. But I do think that there is a difference.
What about you, Deidre? What do you think about the age and how you start introducing discussion about a sexual nature?
I agree with a lot of things Robbie Douglas said. That it depends on the maturity level and the body maturing. When I look at my daughter, she's 11, but when she was 10, I'm looking at her like, okay, it's almost time. And I said to her, well, Natalie, we need to have that talk. And she said, Mommy, I read the book. I know everything.
I read the book. I downloaded the right. I took the test.
I said, but no, we're still going to talk about it. It's all in the book, Mommy. So
now, is this a book she got from school, or where did she get the book?
She checked out from the library.
Wow. Whoa.
She loves
She's
to
the
read.
mom.
Yes. She loves to read, and she was like, I got this. I'm good. And I'm good.
And she's 10.
She's 10. Now she's 11.
Okay.
She's matured, and she's gotten to the point where I really need to get into all the facts. So I sat her down, and I said, well, Natalie, you know now that you're going through this cycle in your life that things could happen. Mom, didn't I tell you? I read the book, and we're going to look at a film next week. And could you please sign this form? Because I really want to watch this film.
Now, I think that's interesting because I know, and I don't remember the talk with my mom at all. I mean, I remember we studied it in school, and my mom was a school nurse. So I remember the facts part of it. But I know, Mary, you have two teenagers now.
Yes.
So what about the emotional part of it? Have you started talking, especially with your daughter, about the emotional connection to boys and what intimacy with a boy could mean emotionally?
Right. And my daughter is just starting to get really interested in boys. So, the emotional part is a major issue because I don't want her to think that she goes to a small school and she's already run through all the boys at the
In a good way.
You don't
Don't
mean run
right.
through like,
But-
you mean what? I like him, I don't like him. You don't
Exactly.
mean, yeah,
Right.
okay.
Exactly. So right now it's
We gotta
easy.
clarify that for
Right.
video.
And- so So right now that is sort of easy, but I know that as she gets older, even when they say they're going out now, they're not really going out. They're just talking on the phone and that kind of thing. So I'm trying to let her know that there are some repercussions to getting involved with boys with a lot of boys. So.
It's just so different now. I think you referred to the talk, and my mother's generation, I'm sure her mother didn't say 2 words to her. Mm-hmm. She barely said 1 word to me about it. Mm-hmm. But nowadays, I think our youth, they're so educated. They know the technical parts of it, so they know, intercourse and what it takes to have a baby. Right. But like you're saying, the emotional piece is still what we have to impart.
And speaking of what they know way. I mean, because of the music they listen to, they know things that I didn't know till my second semester.
Music.
I probably still don't know. Right. It's like, and I know, like I said, with my mom, I don't even remember the talk. And I remember when we finally asked my father, and we were probably grown with children, and my father told us he was a virgin till he got married, and he didn't get married till he was 35. So we were like, okay.
Wait a minute.
So much for the talk. And just real quickly, because we are going to have to end the discussion, but we are going to continue it via our blog on blackamericaweb.com. What about the school? When do you think, because the school is starting to talk about it younger, yes. And at an earlier age as well. So what do you think of the school and the role that they have in educating your children about sex?
Well, I think the school has it's important that they do, because the kids, they walk around, they hold hands, they kiss, they find places where they can just really get intimate with one another.
And sometimes one of them is a teacher.
Yes.
Whoa. Yeah, we've seen that headline.
Right. So I think the school is a very important place to talk about sex and all the, everything that comes along with it.
Because sometimes when you admit that the parents, I don't think, are bridging that conversation with their kids.
Absolutely.
So unfortunately, the schools have to do it all in some cases. I mean, I don't think that every household is taking a responsible stand towards it. I just think that the school, unfortunately, has to bear that burden.
Yeah, my daughter saw a film recently, and it was about sexually transmitted diseases, and they showed pictures of things that were so gross that could happen, and I think it really had a good impact, a strong impact, and it made a lasting impression on her, which
may or may not be good.
Right,
but we could talk about this, I'm sure, forever, but obviously time is limited. But like I said, you can join us via our blog on blackamericaweb.com for more discussion. Thank you very much, ladies. We appreciate you coming by and spending time. And we're going to talk fashion. We're going to learn more about fashion. We have a fashion expert standing by to help us busy professional mothers figure out what to wear to work.
Hi, I'm Kim. Welcome to Fashion Sense. I am super excited about this trend, the bandage skirt and dress. This body-conscious, form-fitting trend is not for everybody, and I mean that figuratively and literally. You've got to have the right attitude for it. So I think I've got the right attitude, and I'm working feverishly to get my body ready for the full-on dress. And if you plan on joining me in wearing this trend this season, I've got a few tips to get you ready too. 1, don't buy the real thing. These dresses are inspired by the designs of Irv Legger, and his designs run you well into the thousands. Now, there are plenty of knockoffs out there. Just make sure that when you get one, the material is still really taut so that it holds you like it's supposed to. I, however, am determined to wear a real Irv Legger dress. So I'm going to rent mine from Rent the Runway. I can get a $1,000 dress for $100. Makes sense for me. 2, get the right length. Just because you see the skirt or dress in minis everywhere doesn't mean that's the appropriate length for you. So consider whether or not having your behind hanging out is right for your style, image, and or appropriate for your age. You can still wear the trend because they do come in a longer length. You just might have to shop around. 3, pair it with the right pair of shoes. Don't Don't weigh down this hot trend with anything clunky. This is not the trend to pair your clogs with. Try your platform stilettos. Now that I've helped you squeeze into your bandage skirt or dress, and hopefully you can still breathe, send me a tweet on Twitter or leave me a comment on Facebook and let me know what you think of this trend. Makes sense?
Kim always looks fabulous. Kim Turner is our fashion expert, and you can get more tips on fashion on a budget because she does everything so inexpensively. It's almost ridiculous. Her website is fashionsense.tv. So now that we've conquered the fashion world, we're going to move on to dinner because we know one of the other big challenges in our lives are making healthy meals that can be done quickly for our family. So Mama's Gone Wild Mary has a tip on something that we can make for our kids, especially
if you have picky children. And my son, if he could eat French fries 5 days a week, I've convinced myself that that's a vegetable, so I don't have to feel guilty. And I've come up with a healthy way to sort of trick him into thinking
and
they're
herself,
fries.
right?
So you get a potato, you bake it just like you bake a regular potato, but only for like 8. You don't want it to get mushy. After you get done baking it, peel it, slice it like you would slice up fries, and then heat up olive oil. So you're not really frying it; you're just warming it up. But if you heat it up in the olive oil, it'll sort of brown like it's fried, and that's better than Crisco.
I agree.
You have to admit.
I do.
And it's quick because if you make fries, sometimes it takes like 15-20 minutes if they're hard, the potatoes. But since you've already baked them for a few minutes, they're
Nobody
soft,
is judging you.
easy. I feel judgment.
Nobody's judging you. Just make sure you put like a side of broccoli or something with your
Yeah,
your
you
vegetables.
can fry that too. I got a recipe for that.
But the other great thing about cooking is that it teaches kids a lot, like following directions. If they have to follow a recipe, it also teaches kids fractions and measurements and all sorts of good stuff.
And you can teach them to clean up the kitchen, unlike their dads sometimes. So
I'm
start
not
them
saying
early. I know. Well,
you can email all of your
it looks
tips.
like a crime scene after he cooks. That's all I have to
You
say.
can email any tips you have for Mama's Gone Wild to mamasgonewild@gmail.com. We'll take tips, we'll take questions, we'll take comments, we will take it all. We thank you for joining us. We thank our panelists, and we will see you again for Mama's Gone Wild TV on blackamericaweb.com.